All right, let's get going now. This is all right, we good? Yeah. Okay. Check, check.
Angie, can you hear us?
Kim, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, great. All right, we're in business. Go ahead and get going on this. This is going to be. What are we at? I'm not in it. Hello, hello.
Are you off?
Okay, I think we're good. No, we're not.
Is it here?
Hello, hello, test, test.
Testing. I think that's good.
All right, I think we're good. All right, I think we're good. Out of my hair now. All right, let's get going on this. This is going to be a city council meeting night for the city of Lake Stevens. It's October 11th, 2022 at 6 p.m. We're doing this in person at the Mill downtown Lake Stevens, and there's also a online option. And with that, I'd like to call this meeting to order and ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you. Clerk Weaver, can you give us a roll call, please?
Councilmember Daughtry,
Present.
Councilmember Peter Shagan,
Present.
Councilmember Frederick, Councilmember Dickinson,
Present.
Councilmember Jorstad,
Present.
Council President Ewing,
Present.
Councilmember Tagent.
Okay, can I get a motion to excuse council members Tagit and Frederick? They are both at a conference.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, thank you. I will remember that there's two online and slow down. Okay, with that, President, can we get an approval of the agenda?
We've got one addition to the agenda. Councilmember Jorstad, could you address that, please?
Thank you. I'd like to add the reading of a land acknowledgement in recognition of Indigenous Peoples Day.
Okay. Where would you like to do that?
We can do it right after the approval if that works.
Mary, you're good with that? Okay, we'll add that item to, I guess I'll make a, do you want to make a motion?
Yes, I would like to move approval of the agenda with the addition of the reading of the land acknowledgement.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So motion passes. So we will, any other additions to the agenda? All right, I guess we already, never mind, we did with the addition. So Mary, you've got an agenda.
Okay, yeah, all right, I'm good. So with that, we have the land acknowledgement. Council Member Jorstad, would you mind?
Thank you. I appreciate it. For those who don't know, a land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognizes and respects Indigenous peoples as traditional stewards of this land and the enduring relationship that exists between Indigenous people and their traditional territories. As we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, it is important to acknowledge the history of the land we occupy and recognize the original stewards of this land. We all occupy land that was once home to Indigenous communities. Acknowledging this, naming the traditional stewards of this land where we sit and work and play, is an important part of acknowledging the history of colonization by white Europeans. There is work to be done. Acknowledgement can be the first step towards asking what we can do to strengthen relationships and work towards reconciliation as individuals, as a city, a region, and a nation. So today we recognize we are on Indigenous land, the traditional territories of the Coast Salish people, including the Snohomish, Stillaguamish, Soxswaddle, Skagit, Tulalip, and Duwamish tribes, who since time immemorial have taken care of, hunted, fished, and gathered on these lands. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and we honor their sacred spiritual connection with this land and water. We are here without invitation and without providing compensation. We recognize this land acknowledgement is the most basic form of decolonization and that we have more work to do to counteract colonialization within our institutions, our communities, and ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, there's no guest business tonight. We do have citizens' comments. I do have one green sheet. I would like to say that we did receive another set of citizens' comments that were emailed to each of the city council members. So Clerk Weaver, if we could just put those into the record, that'd be great.
I wanted to read in the record that Shane Oden did give citizen comment via email to all council members.
Yep. Okay, and so with that, we'll go to citizens' comments, and we do so via live here and also online. So let's go online first. Is there anyone online who would like to provide citizens' comments to City Council tonight?
And if you're online as an attendee and you'd like to, go ahead and raise your digital hand and I will see you and bring you into the room.
Nobody? Okay, and then we'll go live here. And the only green sheet I have is Annette Gamble Olson. Annette, if you could approach the microphone there, tell us your name and address and. Oh, and you know what? Wait 1 second. So are you saying it needs to go during the public hearing? Okay. Yeah, I think in that, so I think we'll wait till item 11 and we'll take citizens comment during that time frame, just for that
I
subject.
wanted the email that I sent to all the council members read.
Yeah, we'll do that during the public hearing. I'm sorry about that. I missed that. Okay, no other citizens comments during this time frame?
This isn't a public hearing, item 11. It hasn't been advertised as a public hearing, has it? It says action item.
It has been advertised as a public hearing. It was put in an incorrect place in the packet.
So it is a public hearing.
It is a public hearing and there'll be more discussion on that as we.
Should we amend the agenda to reflect that?
As a public hearing, yeah.
All right, so let's correct that. So action item 11 or item 11 on the agenda is listed as an action item and it should be listed as a public hearing. So we'd like to move to make that change to the agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of that amendment?
No, wait a minute, I got a discussion. In the staff report, it says it's a closed record. Public hearing.
So if I may, and Attorney Rubstello can also provide information. So a closed record hearing means no new information not included in the open hearing can be included if it's repetitive and speaks to items that were already put into the written record. Some public comment can be admitted, but it has to be of the text that was previously provided. I will state for the record now, this is going to come up and create some additional confusion. Ms. Gamble has asked for reconsideration with the hearing examiner. So as we move into the public hearing tonight, staff is going to give you a brief introduction as to the hearing, the procedure, and we will be asking to continue this hearing until a later date, until the hearing examiner can act on the reconsideration and reopen the hearing for any additional written comment.
So then does the agenda need to reflect an action item and a public hearing? And the action item is to postpone the hearing? Is that my understanding?
It would not need to be amended. That can just be the direction council provides during the hearing.
That's correct.
So, okay, so how does Ms. Gamble speak?
That's what I asked for.
Hold on a minute. I'm working it for you.
Well, the council could let those that are here in attendance speak, but you're not going to be able to take any action tonight. You're going to continue need to continue the public hearing because you're going to need to know what the
Turn Greg off, please.
So I'm supportive of having the public comment, even if it's not
Troy.
During that item.
during the item, yes.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Turn Greg off.
It's not responding.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
So Kim, does that answer your question?
does with the
Yeah,
the
it
motion
answers my
for
question.
it might be best for the thing.
He is catching up. I'm sorry, Mayor.
Yeah.
He's muted now.
Kim, does that answer your question, concern that you raised?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor to turn this into a public hearing, during which time Ms. Gamble can speak.
Yes.
And we do have another hand raised digitally if that's the case.
I don't know, we're out of citizens' comments.
Okay.
Other than this other green one that showed up.
Okay.
So, okay, so you guys have a motion. What are you doing?
Yes. We need to vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda has been further amended.
Okay,
So we're now on item 6, I believe.
okay. And then we do have a public comment from green slip here from Nathan Packard. Nathan, you want to take the microphone?
Thank you. Okay, state name and address or anything.
Please.
Nathan Packard, 924 117th Drive Southeast. I know I'm a little bit late to the game, that we've been talking about Airbnb rental properties for the last little while. Just wanted to come and communicate my concern about making sure that Lake Stevens stays it's owned by people who are living in these homes, right? I don't want the neighborhood and the properties around the lake, around the city to turn into a bunch of rental properties where people buy them up and make profit on them, right? I want to maintain one community around the lake. If somebody wants to rent out their property, we should have some flexibility and freedom to do those types of things, right? We don't be too restrictive, but just wanted to, again, clearly communicate as a member of the community the importance to maintain some level of integrity, character, and value in the homes that are here around the lake. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move forward on the agenda and with council business. Council President.
Councilmember Jorstad.
I have nothing for this evening. Thank you.
Councilmember Daughtry.
I don't have anything either, but there are 2 people with their hands up in the attendees.
Okay, keep going.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Okay, I attended the Historic Society meeting and I'm hoping to do a walkthrough of the Grimm House very soon. Thank you to council members Daughtry and Petershagen for their efforts to finish the front part of the house. I hope it will be ready for Harvest Fest. The volunteer group will be more than happy if that can happen. The museum board is working hard to repair the damage incurred by the move so the site will once again be able to show Lake Stevens residents where we've come from. They are concerned that there may not be enough area available for the plantings that the garden club would like to make. This group has already volunteered to do the work. A shout out and thanks to Lund Glass for helping with window issues. I attended the senior center board meeting yesterday where they reported a membership of 248 and much needed volunteer hours of 390 for the month. A new assistant manager has happily come on board and she is thrilled at the chance to serve our seniors. There's an upcoming opioid training scheduled for Saturday, October 15th from 2:30 to 5:30. This is totally open to the community. And if you're a parent and are concerned about these things, or if you have a senior in your household who understands that opioid addiction can happen by accident when you go on medications, I would love to have you sign up for that. You just call the senior center if you or your family members would like to attend. And if I could just do a shout out for the Parks and Arts Foundation and their film festival they had. I'm done. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Councilmember Peter Shagan.
Yes, I also attended the Historical Society Board meeting this last Wednesday, I believe it was. And looking forward to opening the lines of communication a little bit more. We've kind of hit kind of a quiet zone, I guess you might say, between the city and the board. So looking to get things moving in that regard. Also, I'd like to thank the chamber. Big shout out to them. Tomorrow they're having a breakfast or a luncheon, meet the candidates. We have an important election coming up, and I appreciate the chamber stepping up and holding these forums so that we can get exposed to the candidates, know a little bit more about them, and help our voting in this upcoming election. And then also continuing to work on the sewer negotiations. So with the sewer district. So busy week last week. Thank you.
So just a member of the Youth Advisory Council this past Saturday joined us, some others in community. Local congregation donated $40,000 to Lake Stevens Food Bank to help with the refrigeration units. So grateful for local congregation for the generous donation and for our Youth Advisory Council and the other people that participated with that. Mayor?
Great. Before I move forward, is there a desire by council to listen to citizens' comments of the two folks that came in late?
I'm fine with that.
Certainly.
Okay. All right, we're going to go back to citizens' comments, and there's two people online, two citizens online who wish to provide comments. Are they still there? Okay, want to bring them in, Caitlin?
Sure. The first is Patrick McCourt. Can you hear us? Patrick, can you unmute?
Okay, Mr. McCourt, 3 minutes.
This is Patrick McCourt, 10515 20th Street Southeast, Lake Stevens, Washington, 98258. I've been online since the beginning. I believe the council made a motion to open up the matter that Ms. Gamble was asking about as a public hearing. I want to be certain that pursuant to state statute that you are allowed to take that action. Given the fact that what you're going to hear later is a procedural issue, I want to be certain that there's no procedural issue with respect to the action the council took.
Okay. And who's the other one?
Okay. Sorry. Next, we have Saffron Colo.
Okay, Ms. Colo.
Moving her now. There we go. Okay, Saffron, if you can unmute, we'll be able to hear you.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can, go ahead.
Awesome. Saffron Coelho, formerly Elizabeth. I live in Lake Stevens, 98258. I have two comments for tonight. The first is that I live next to Sunnycrest Elementary, and I'm sure you're very well aware of the traffic problems that have arisen from blocking off the the shoulder for the pickup line. I just want to mention again that we have a lot of families who walk on this street, both to take their children to school and just as recreational walking. So I think it would be beneficial to get sidewalks in on 99th Avenue Northeast. And then the second comment I wanted to mention was I saw the emails that went out with the Lake Stevens School District regarding the rainbow fentanyl, that there's no evidence in the community that this exists, but they wanted to warn people. I feel like it's a scare tactic and an excuse for the police to harass children to see what kind of candy they're holding in their hands. I feel like it was kind of an irresponsible. I know it came from the FBI or wherever it came from, but I just, it didn't sit well with me, and I wanted to mention that I don't think the police should be looking for rainbow fentanyl in our communities, especially if there's no evidence of such. So I hope no one gets not assaulted. I hope no one gets assaulted. I hope no one gets harassed for having candy in their hand because of some perceived drug that doesn't exist in our communities. And that's it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right, let's move forward to mayor's business. I'm going to allot some time over to Councilmember Dickinson for a proclamation that she has.
Thank you, Mayor Gailey. It's a proclamation to the Friends of the Library Week. Whereas the Friends of the Lake Stevens Library raise money that enables our library to move from good to great, providing the resources for additional programming, much needed equipment, support for children's summer reading, and special events throughout the year. Whereas the work of the Friends highlights on an ongoing basis the fact that our library is the cornerstone of the community, providing opportunities for all to engage in the joy of lifelong learning and connect with the thoughts and ideas of others from ages past to the present. Whereas the Friends understand the critical importance of well-funded libraries and advocate to ensure that our library gets the resources it needs to provide a wide variety of services to all ages, including access to print and electronic materials, along with expert assistance in research, readers advisory, and children's services. Whereas the Friends' gift of their time and commitment to the library sets an example for all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mary Dickinson, council member of the City of Lake Stevens, on behalf of the City Council, proclaim October 16th through the 22nd, 2022 as Friends of the Library Week in Lake Stevens, Washington, and urge everyone to join the Friends of the Library and thank them for all they do to make our library and our community so much better.
Thank you, Mary. That's great. We all are anxiously anticipating the design and progress of the library here in Lake Stevens, and it'll be great to have in our community. So some of my business, last week I was at the American Public Works Association Washington chapter conference. It was a very good conference, a lot of good information, I mostly went there to talk legislative issues for Public Works and just to see where they were at and what help I might be able to give them. And it was very good networking. We also took a couple of our folks from Lake Stevens Public Works, and they learned a lot of good stuff from the courses that they were putting on. To address citizens' comments on sidewalks, Sunnycrest is an area that we've been talking about and working with the school district to find some intermediate safety things that we can do down there, safety fixes down there. And then that stretch of sidewalk is on our TBD Transportation Benefit District ask that's on the ballot here in November. They would help fund that stretch of sidewalk. So I think that's all I have. So let's move forward to citizen department report and Caitlin.
I just have a brief update on 2 items for council. The first was a council priority to get updated photos of council members for City Hall. And that was a request that was made. I wanted to provide information in the packet you have in your in front of you. We found a great local portrait studio that does a lot of our local sports teams as well. They have a lot of options that are affordable and is close by. And I put some different dates. I was hoping to have it right before council meeting when everybody would already be in town. So I'm just looking for some direction from council on dates that would work best. And if you want to digest this information and get back to me as a group, that's totally fine. So any questions about that from the group?
Are you looking for all 7 people to be available on the same day?
Well, part of what they're offering is also a group photo, which I think would be great. We'll have the digital image for use on the website as well as a printed image for City Hall. So it would be excellent to get everybody together at the same time.
Okay, so you'll be sending out some kind of document that we can all
I'd be happy to send a
note our
poll.
availability.
Yep, that's
Okay.
totally fine. But I wanted to make sure you had an update on where we're at with this process.
Excellent, thank you.
And the other piece, I'll make this very brief, is in planning the winter retreat for this group. I wanted to see if it would be an option instead of doing an all-day Friday to partial day Saturday out of respect for your family time, everyone's family time. If we would be able to do a Thursday evening to an all-day Friday, we would be able to get a better rate for the whatever location we're going to be at. And it would eliminate the need for a Saturday engagement. So I just wanted to put that out to the group.
So what is Thursday evening? What is that? Because Thursday evening for some people starts at 3, some people starts at 10. So what time?
Are we starting like at noon?
I mean, it could be any combination of how you want to do it. We could even do a check-in. So there's lots of different ways that this could go, but maybe everyone comes, checks in around 4 and then has a meeting and a meal, in the evening, or if you want it to be at noon, that's fine as well. I can ask the facility for availability of the space that we're going to be using anytime that the group wants. It depends on how much time you need on that day. So if it's 4 hours, 6 hours, I'd just love some direction.
Maybe a working dinner kind of thing.
But maybe 3, 4 o'clock, check in.
Meet for a few hours like a council
Yeah.
meeting.
Why not?
Mhm. Sure.
This is Angie. I think my only comment is that for those of us that work, it would mean having to take additional PTO time away from work. So that, there's a balance there between that and Saturdays I get, but I would opt for a little bit later on Thursday, just personally.
So Angie, what time would be something that you would consider or that would work best for you?
Yeah, I guess it depends on travel time too, right? Like I'm not sure where we're going. I would just ask for, later in the afternoon versus not noon, but, a 3 or 4 start seems like that could be doable.
And I'm happy to send a poll out for that as well. And that's a great point, Councilmember Jorstad. The facility that I'm looking at is also in Bellingham, just not on the train tracks. And so it would be about an hour and some change to get up there.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I have is most Thursday afternoons, I have meetings that I respond to for the city. So I might have to take a little bit of time once I get there to go into one of those meetings. Depends on the day.
And do you want to put the Thursday night football schedule on there to know which one we're going to choose?
I
Yeah,
can
I don't do football, so I don't really care.
The football is the most important.
Yes.
I will send out some communication if that would be helpful, just with some options of start times. Okay. Thank you.
Sounds good. All right, and then favorite part is new hire intros. Shannon.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Shannon Front. I'm the surface water manager for the City of Lake Stevens, and I work in Public Works. Tonight, I'd like to introduce 2 of our new employees to the surface water program. Over here, we have Olin Anderson. He's an environmental specialist with experience in a broad spectrum of environmental issues. With 21 years of experience, in environmental planning, site evaluation, habitat assessment, low-impact development design, and project implementation. He has conducted watershed studies, ecological restoration, and monitoring. Previous public work positions included transportation planning, fisheries, habitat restoration, and water quality program development with a state agency and 2 tribal governments. In addition to a bachelor's degree in geography and a master's in landscape architecture, he has a certificate in wetland delineation. He has a variety of skills in CAD, GIS, graphics, technical writing, and watercolors. Recent work in the private sector includes wetland delineation, critical area reports, wetland mitigation, stormwater basin habitat enhancements, shoreline studies, site planning, and permitting from local to federal levels. Surface water protection and management has been a common aspect in most of his assignments. Currently, Olin resides in Whatcom County, but he's looking to move a little bit closer here to Lake Stevens. Olin now has the position of surface water coordinator here at Public Works.
You say you were skilled in watercolors?
Yeah, okay.
Oh, nice.
Are you okay?
Okay.
Sorry. Glad you didn't fall.
Great.
That was exciting.
That's all right.
And then our next newest member to the surface water program is Seth Waltz. Seth has actually been here with the city for about 12 years. He's been in our operations division, primarily in the stormwater division. And so now he is our surface water field technician. Before working at Lake Stevens, Seth worked for the city of Snohomish in the sewer and stormwater collection department. Seth grew up locally here in Machias, and he currently lives in Snohomish with his wife, Amy, who's sitting over here, and his 3 children. In his free time, Seth enjoys camping, cooking, and anything outdoors.
Cool. Yep. Amy, thank you for being here. All right, let's move to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, I have a correction to make. I believe it's the September 13th minutes. It references regarding the issue of the resolution 2022-14 fees, talks about moving this resolution to October 11th. I believe that's actually October 25th. And so I would ask for that correction to be made.
Okay, so with that amendment, is there any other further discussion? Or changes? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right, motion passes.
All right, great. Yeah, I would like to take a moment and just recognize, I think we've got some AP government students in the crowd tonight, right? Good to have you here. Cool. Go Vikings. Good to have you here. Hopefully you're learning government. Yeah, absolutely. We're all about the pictures with AP government folks.
But we need your whole class.
All right, so with that, I think we're gonna, before we go into this item number 11, I think that we need to get some counsel from our attorney who we can now hear because he's gonna call in and not Zoom in. Is that correct?
That's been requested.
Okay, great. Can we hear you?
Craig, can you unmute? mean, I can unmute him. Nope. He's calling in. Let me let his phone number in here.
Hello?
Okay.
Greg, we've got
There
you.
you go.
So we have moved this Heisey rezone request into a public hearing, but we needed your counsel, which we couldn't get in a very long, drawn out digital sort of way. So can you explain to us if we're on the right path with this or not? Greg.
Greg, you have permission to talk. Can you unmute your phone? Hold on here. Okay, Greg.
Okay, I think I'm in.
Okay, Greg, did you?
All right, well, as Russ explained, we've had a motion to reconsider the hearing examiner's decision, which he is going to be hearing. So there really is no final action yet for you to take any action on. It's unfortunate that a notice for public hearing went out, but it did because we have this pending motion for reconsideration, and the appropriate action to be taken tonight is to open the public hearing, and you may get just a brief explanation from Russ as to what's going on, but the public hearing should be continued to a date certain, allowing for enough time for the hearing examiner to review the motion for reconsideration that has been made, I believe, by the person who's requesting to speak at your public hearing tonight. Because it's really, until you know what it is and what the decision is of the hearing examiner, you shouldn't be considering it. You should consider it all at one time.
Okay, so is the more appropriate? I mean, so why does this have to be on the agenda tonight if we're not going to listen to it?
Well, it was advertised, and so the hearing needs to be reset to a different date. So basically, that's all you really should do tonight is open the hearing and have it continued to a date certain, allowing sufficient time for the hearing examiner to reconsider, to take into consideration the motion for reconsideration, and Russ can probably give you an appropriate date.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
am I missing something? Because I don't see this as being advertised as a public hearing. It was publicized as an action item.
But I think it was actually a public hearing that went out on notice. Is that correct, Russ? Yeah,
There was a
the agenda
public
packet's
notice.
incorrect. It should say public hearing.
That's what I'm missing. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so I get where we're going with this, but I do have Ms. Gamble here, and she was more than willing to do her comments during citizens' comments, but I punted her to, not literally punted her to the public hearings portion when she could have done her comments in citizens' comments. Is there an issue with her giving those comments during citizens' comments as any other regular citizen?
Right. If there's going to have to be a public hearing by the council on the rezone question, and that's the appropriate time for the city to take comment on the rezone issue and on the decision of the hearing examiner, not in citizen comment. It's just like if somebody has comment to make on any issue that's going to public hearing, you don't do that during general city comment time. You do it during the public hearing time where there's a record made of all the comments made with respect to matters that require a public hearing.
Okay, so that citizens' comments time of the public hearing will be in the future.
Yes, and she, as well as anyone else who has standing to speak at that public hearing, will give you all of that comment during your public hearing on the issue.
Okay. Is that understandable?
Does that mean will this,
So it won't happen tonight, but there will be another public hearing, or the public hearing will get continued.
will it be an open record?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It will not.
Oh,
It
will
will
not.
not be an open record. It's a closed record. That is the administrative authority of the council. The recommendation will come from the hearing examiner. The
Okay.
hearing examiner is reopening the record for a period of 10 days. That new information will be presented to the council. It doesn't mean you cannot take testimony, but the testimony can't be outside of anything that's been provided to the hearing examiner, either orally or in written form.
Since when provided?
During an open comment period as set by statute, municipal code, or the examiner's ruling.
From now on, until the examiner makes another.
Written comments are accepted for the next 10 days.
Okay. I guess that's.
Will that work for you?
Yes, and I thought that we would still be able to address the city council on the issue of rezone before they actually made a decision on the rezone.
Right. And so if you,
Which it didn't look like that was happening.
right, so if you write those comments and send them to the hearing examiner, that will be in the record for the council to be able to read when they do make the decision. Does that sound?
As they relate to the reconsideration, otherwise the comments are already.
Right.
Then I will tell
Correct.
interested parties that
Okay,
Loretta Cussy was interested in some questions being answered.
okay. So,
They were on the opposite side of the development.
so I think your venue, your avenue right now is to write those up and send them to the hearing examiner.
Okay.
Okay.
I already sent him the reason why I wanted it reopened,
Okay,
and a lot of that was in that.
okay. So that's your recourse right now. I just want to make sure we're fair to you and fair to the system with how we have to run this as a council.
And so is that hearing going to be advertised as a public hearing, just like this one was?
I don't,
Cards or whatever
Yeah.
sent to people, or
I don't know.
the public in general, or?
I don't-
just-
Greg, I don't know the answer to that.
Russ, do you have, looks like,
So the requirements for a type 4 hearing for the council has procedures in the code. And I believe it just requires public notice in the newspaper. Looks like Christie's looking at some of her papers, but we will follow due process to advertise that and provide record or notice to all parties of record.
Okay,
And I'm a party of record, even though I don't live next to the, within a number of feet.
Yep, understood.
300 feet.
If you continue the public hearing to a date certain tonight, she is going to hear what the new date is for the hearing, and she will be given notice of that tonight.
okay, perfect. All right, so let's go to item 11 then. Whew. And Christie, you're up to bat.
Thank you, City Council. I'm Christy Schmidt, Senior Planner. This evening, I would like to open the public hearing this evening for the Heisey request. And that would be for LUA 2021-0211. As noted, this is a closed record hearing, which means no new testimony or information, and the exhibits are contained within the City Council packet. Just for clarification this evening for the record, that the preliminary plat and the variance are both type 3 permits. And the authority, the decision authority with that does lie with the hearing examiner. So they have the decision authority to make the final decision on those two type 3 permits based on the city's subdivision regulations and also the variance requirements within the code. The concurrent rezone, the authority lies with the hearing examiner to make a simple recommendation. That recommendation is forwarded to the city council, and the city council has the authority to make the decision on the rezone. And hence that was the request that is coming forward in the closed record hearing this evening for the city council. The recommendation based from the city attorney is that there's no deliberation or discussion to be held tonight. And as a staff person representing this application, I'm requesting a continuance of the public hearing no sooner than November 8th, which I believe I was checking with the assistant city clerk this evening. There are 2 public hearings currently scheduled for November 8th, and that is the soonest action date that the city council could hold the closed record public hearing for the rezone. Then the next date would be November 22nd. So those are the 2 dates on the table for continuance for the rezone.
Any questions from the council? Any motions from the council?
Are those 2 dates determined by when the hearing examiner will make his findings on a reconsideration?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so we're kind of in limbo until we,
We are.
okay.
We have a motion?
So the motion is to open the public hearing, or is the motion to continue? She opened it. I'm not, staff normally doesn't open a public hearing, so I'm a little confused.
I'll open the public hearing on this Heisey rezone request.
Okay. And I'll make a motion to continue the hearing. But we have to give a specific to November 8th, 2022. For the Heisey rezone request.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to say it again, Steve, I'm sorry.
To continue the Heisey rezone request to November 11, 2022.
November 11 or November?
I'm sorry, November 8th.
November 8th. Okay, November 8th. Okay, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, our next item is going to be discussion items, and that's going to be the draft agenda that we have for our October 18th workshop. And you can see the agenda. We've got a discussion from Parks Director Garceau on Amazon Smile, and as well as some continued budget discussion, and as well as bringing forward the Planning Commission work plan for next year. Is there any concerns with that, or?
Is that a joint meeting between the city council and planning commission, or just their recommendation of their work plan?
It is just starting the conversation of coordination between the planning commission and the city council. That won't be a joint meeting or to discuss their specific work plan. It'll be the work to date and then some of the items that have been discussed with the liaison and the chair.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any issues with that?
No issues. I do have Mayor question. We've had some outstanding items as far as the replacement schedule for Public Works. That was part of the budget discussion. And as we get closer to that date, I haven't heard or seen anything about that. And also the maintenance schedule for Parks and Public Works. I understand that that's in the works, and that's also part of the consideration for the budget schedule. So I'm wondering when, if we can have a specific date that we can expect that information.
Yeah, we can give you an update on that on this next workshop.
Okay.
Russ, did you want to give an update on the grant stuff we spoke about earlier?
Sure, it'll just be high level.
Yeah, real short. So Councilmember Frederick asked for an update on some of the or grant ideas that we received while we're in DC. And so I had Russ do some follow-up on that.
So just to go over a few projects with the council really quickly, grants that we're currently under consideration for, and then I'll give you a brief list of new grants that we'll be looking towards in the new year. So right now we have 3 grants from the state. First is the Capital Heritage Grant for the museum. We have 2 local projects grants. Those are multimodal improvements, South Lake Stevens Path, 16th Street Northeast. Those first 3 are waiting to be funded still with the 2023 legislature. We do have a fully funded Puget Sound Regional Council grant for transportation improvements to Main Street. We have a Safe Routes to School grant, I believe, under application. And then 3 RCO Recreation Conservation Office grants. 2 of those have been funded. The 3rd, we are waiting to find out what happens shortly. And then we have 4 planning grants under consideration from the department, 3 from the Department of Commerce, 1 from the Department of Ecology. Those are for our climate action plan, our housing action plan, our periodic comprehensive plan update, and our shoreline inventory. 3 of those are funded. The 4th, we're waiting to complete the grant contract to get funding. As we look forward into next year, there are going to be several grants that the city is going to be eligible for, starting with a couple of state grants from the CURB board. There'll be an economic development grant, an infrastructure grant. We would look at those for some improvements in the industrial area. There will be a federal grant for infrastructure and sewer that we can take a look at. There are various transportation funding options that have been provided between WashDOT, Commerce, and other sources. We have an interesting grant right now that's a Department of Commerce grant for design and engineering for industrial areas. And so we are going to be moving forward with putting an application for that grant in the next couple of weeks. I've been talking to the grant administrator, and over the weekend, they've agreed to extend the deadline on that. They posted it and gave about a 10-day deadline to turn that around. They say lots of conversation with them, and they've given us positive feedback that our grant seems to be a good fit for that grant. So we'll definitely get that submitted. And then at the federal level, there are extensive grants for culverts coming out. Specifically, this had been noted by Patty Murray, and it's part of the infrastructure package that the Congress and President Biden have put forward. And so we will be moving forward with these downtown culvert options as well through that grant process. And that one is due in February.
All right, great. Thanks, Russ. Appreciate it. So with that, we have nothing further on the agenda. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Have a great night and go do some great things in the community.